Anyway, Sandy, I've told quite a lot of people about you caught the vision of LifeWave, and even though you came in as a starter pack, you were able to, by the invitations you made, you were able to upgrade to gold fairly rapidly. I don't know, and if you're not director, I guess you're almost director.
Yeah.
And I've also talked about, well, I've mentioned that a lot, and I think it might be a good idea one day for you to have a call on that, and or part of a call on that, and talk about, again, we had it in a small call with you, but with you said, a lot of people say, I need to test this on myself. And you said, you know what, I'm believing the stories I'm hearing, so I'm going to start straight away. And I've mentioned that you're one of the people who took a long time, in your case, 11 weeks, to notice anything subjective with the patches, but that your people in your team have said thank you so much that you actually went ahead straight away instead of waiting. So this is a little bit something that is a little bit touches on things that I want to talk about today, which is posture and process. But I'd like a little bit of feedback here. So I guess we're going to go straight in. Yes, Chris?
Yes, I think maybe let Sandy elaborate quickly on what you were mentioning. Maybe she can explain in her own words. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. And then I have a question for everybody. Okay.
Okay. So when Chris spoke with me, I just wasn't in a position to start. But what I saw, I loved, because I treat using craniosacral therapy, quantum touch. I use the Rife and Beamer. So I work with life force and with energies. And to me, that's the healthier route. And I came in with the $25, and I've mentioned that to the odd person only if they want to build. And I'm so grateful for that. And I pussyfooted around, sure, for about a month. Not so, Chris, because I was so busy with something else. And then your mom, Chris's mom, got the result after 3 weeks. And I mean, I've known Chris and his mom not closely, but I've met her a few times, and I know she was in agony and stressed in that. And after 16 years of fibromyalgia, and then being on the patches for 3 weeks, I mean, she phoned Chris crying. So any child would be panic-stricken. And she had slept through for the first time and was pain-free. And the lights went on in me. And although I'd heard other stories, which I fully believed and trusted because I know what frequencies can do, that lit the fire under me. And immediately, so I didn't even have patches yet, I immediately started sharing it. And all I can say is thank goodness I did. And in sharing it, I obviously earned PIB commission, which then got me Chris. In fact, someone needed patches. I went to bronze. Then I went to silver. Then I went to gold. And the only reason why I haven't got the diamond, the platinum and diamond patches yet, package, is because thank goodness for LifeWave. And the month ends and we're moving, it looks like next Friday. So that's where it's been helping us. But in the meantime, I've got a manager. I brought in actually a fair number of people. I brought in another 2 in the last 2 days, talking to a few more. And they've all, one came in at silver, one came in at gold today. And I'm working with someone in America right now, Canada, who wants to really push things. So, yes, I'm delighted. And then Eric and I, funnily enough, both of us, we lead pretty healthy lives. So whether it's that, I don't know, if it's because we're older, I don't know. But I noticed subtle changes, which I'm sure most people wouldn't. And the 11th week, we both got a distinct result. And then in the 14th week, I got another result. So if I had waited till now, my team's over 300 people. And they're happy. And I mean, I know Dr. Linda's delighted. I brought in someone who brought Dr. Linda in. Ragini's delighted. Ragini's helping loads of people. She and Andy. And they getting results. And Tracy. Is this my Tracy? Tracy's on. Tracy felt, and I haven't even patched most people. Tracy and 2 or 3 others I put a patch on. They happen to feel stuff on day 1. But, most people don't feel anything on day 1. So I'm just happy that Chris's mother switched the light on for me. And
sorry, go on.
No. So when people say, let me see what it does for me, I respect what they're saying, but it's the most illogical thing I've ever come across. Because it's totally illogical. Because I look at the patches as a maths theorem. You apply it to anything. Also, if people are saying, is there a result with this? Well, it depends on the person, the age, their lifestyle, as in thinking, hydration, food, supplements, exercise, everything. And you can't compare people. So I just think, well, it works. So everyone's just different. It's timing.
So everything you said, you ended up with timing. This call, I wanted to do this call on posture and process. So you've just described a process which for you was one thing, but as you are working with other people, you see that everybody has their own process, and you had your own process that took credibility really multiplied sharply once Chris's mum had the result. And in your own process, and I'm going to repeat this word because I keep saying the more I do this, the more it's a process. And I kind of want to why am I talking about this? Because when people understand it's a process, then they don't get stressed. The stress level should go down because it's a process. It's not like a 2-minute yes, no, on, off. So in your particular process, and like you said, everybody's body is different. And for this part of the conversation, everybody's process is different. In your particular process, that was the kind of detonation point for you. You saw it, you got the vision, but you didn't kind of explode into action until the story with Chris's mum. Yeah,
that's true. And I was busy with something else that I was really putting my mind to.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about busy with something else in a minute. But so then when that happened with Chris's mum, that gave you another level of credibility towards the patches, even though you'd still believed you'd seen stories, you read stories, and you believed them. But the level of credibility towards those other stories, which are not from people you knew or people in your own group, let's say, it went up tremendously. I tell people a lot of times, exactly that. For you, it's a little bit hard at the beginning because we want to develop posture, and I'm going to talk about that too. But that's also the developing of that posture is also a process. So, I've said to more than one person who's like, I don't know, and I'm sure, but I will try, and so on. And I say also try with the patches with other people, because when you see the result in somebody of your own, that means you actually open your mind to all the other things that you're hearing about. So that's a really key part of people's processes, of people's process in getting to the point where they say, I want to talk about LifeWave, or I really believe in this. Because, as Onyx Coles said in one of her things, it's got to be, you're in your head, but engraved on your heart. So
Yes.
for you, it's now engraved on your heart. But for a lot of people, like a guy I'm talking to at the moment who's coming in, I had to say to him, listen, all the talking we're doing, it's in your head. It's in your head, and you're trying to figure everything out in your head. So really now you need to try the patches. There's not really a lot more to talk about until you've tried the patches. And so that's posture. Okay, when I say to him, say, okay, we've done enough talking. Now you need to try the patches. And with that confidence and saying it like that, that the developing of that kind of posture is something that it's, how shall I say this? You could say easy for you to say because you've been doing this for a while, or maybe for Chris, easy for Chris because he's done networking before. So, Chris, in his own story at the time when he started, yes, he had done networking before, but at that moment, he had his back seriously against the wall. So whereas he had a vision, he had his natural posture, which he has, he still needed to develop, let's call it for this conversation, his LifeWave posture. And as time goes by and he starts seeing, in that case with his mother is a very powerful one for him, but also with all the people he was talking to and seeing the results with, that gave him his posture where he can, okay, take it here. I have a guy who's a friend of mine. He loves me. He tells me every time, I love you, George. But Chris is laughing because I think he knows what I'm talking about. This guy sends me an email, right? Scathing email. What do? They mix it in a tub and blah, 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 blah. And all I could do was laugh. And I might have been upset at another time of my life, but I said, you know what? I'm going to give him time, and then I'm going to answer him. And that's I'm never. I keep saying this. I'm in a hurry. I'm in a big hurry, but I'm never in a hurry. So I would like. I'm blessed to say that my downline hit 1,300 today. And I would like to see it at 10,000 tomorrow, but it's a process. So it's not going to be 10,000 tomorrow, but it will be 10,000 in due course. So, like I said, I'm in a hurry, but I'm never in a hurry because I'm talking simultaneously with lots of people. And those people, some of them are actually already using the product, but they haven't gone through the process with, well, does the product work for me? Well, I think it will. My mum, yeah, okay, no, yes, 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 maybe, okay. Well, now I'm open to the business. Am I open to the business? I don't know if I'm open to the business. Do I like these kind of businesses? All these kind of things that just go on, and they're very mental. And, so when a lot of times people invite somebody in, somebody might come in as a gold pack, and the person who's invited them thinks this is story's over. I've done what I need to do. And that's not the right process. What you need to do is continue to communicate with those people, find out, and now I'll ask a question, and I'm going to ask it the other way around because I think everybody or most people on this call want to make this LifeWave big for themselves. Is there anybody on this call, or put it in the chat or raise your hand? I know Ragini had her hand up a moment ago, but is there anybody here who doesn't want to take this as far as possible? And if so, please put it in the chat and put what your doubts are about that. But I'm figuring everybody here, because I can't see all the faces, so I can't. If your camera's on and you want to take this far, your hands up. Now, something I learned from Javi, which is part of my process. So I said to Javi after 4 months, Javi, when I met you, you'd been 4 months in, you had 900 people. and I'm 4 months in, I got 350 people. What's the difference? And he probably couldn't have told me the things that he told me at that time, even though I had experience of networking, even though I've sold everything in my life, from total rubbish to a hotel, from carpets. Bye, sweetheart. Daughter's going out. From literally total rubbish to a hotel, from shirts that I made to container loads of furniture, impressionist drawings, and so on and so forth, events. Even though I had lots of experience talking and knocking on doors and not caring with the result, Javi said to me something that was so obvious, I couldn't believe that I hadn't thought of it. So it's something in part of my process. He says, I always ask people, do you want to do this? Where do you want to go with this? And I went, I never thought of that. And it's so obvious, and I never thought of it. And I bet you half of everybody else hasn't thought of it. Because on the first call that I did after that, and I said, they told me there was a woman on the call, and she's doing a course on network marketing, and she really wants to do network marketing. And all I could see on the call was a line across her face like this of doubt. So when I came to the point on the call where I said, who wants to do this? Everybody put their hand up like this. I put my hand up, who wants to do this? And she didn't. So, actions speak louder than words. It's a saying I use a lot. So I'm going to turn this down so it doesn't distract me. So that was, sorry, I didn't do that right. Such a small little switch. It's like those stupid pockets where guys have coins in their pockets trying to get those coins out when you're sitting in a taxi or something. Okay, so for me, that was a big point in my process of understanding how to develop successfully, or more successfully, my LifeWave organization, my LifeWave business, help, and more successfully help my LifeWave downline to be successful. But again, some of you have been on the call with Javi, where he uses an expression, leadership lid. Okay, I watched him on a call say to somebody, and could you be senior presidential director tomorrow? And this woman said, yes, I could. And he said, and he asked her some questions, could you deal with this? Could you deal with that? She wasn't in the position to be senior presidential director, because as you, how shall I say, in this part of the process, as I'm executive director, I'm hitting to be senior director. But as you go through this part of the process, you are working with more and more people. And more people means more and more varied and varied personalities, with more and more questions that you wouldn't even have imagined anybody coming up with. And so in my part of my process, it's being available to answer those questions. So I had a woman get in touch with me today. Can I have a call with you? And I said, yes, of course, but tell me, what is it you want to talk about, and who invited you? So two basic questions. So she said, I want to talk about the binary. Now, I could get on a call, and in the past I would have got on a call with somebody for an hour talking about the binary system, explaining it. And she told me who she's with. She's not actually on my team. She's in my downline. And so it was interesting to know who she was with, so that I am able to tell that person that she's got somebody on her team who is in action. However, I didn't do a 1-hour Zoom call with her. I said, look, I've recorded a very good explanation of the binary. I'm going to send you that. And once you've watched that, and you have the questions with more of a context and more specific questions, then we can talk. And I wouldn't have done that 3-4 months ago. I would have gone and spent an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours with that person, going into every single detail. So it's not something that okay, as I'm talking to more and more people constantly, I also have to protect my energy and my time as part of the process. I need to help everybody as much as I can, and I do. But at the same time, what I can't do is have all my energy go to people who are still uncertain of themselves in their process. So I have to find a way to kind of short circuit it so that they do part of the work to clarify themselves in their process. So then posture. I have a bank manager. Now, part of my posture is I will not buy and sell. I will not buy X39 and sell X39 to anybody. I will not take a packet and get money put into my hand. It's a decision I made a long time ago, and I'm not going to change it. So I have a bank director who's he's a private banker. He knows a lot of very wealthy people, and he's yeah, that's interesting, but it must be a placebo effect. And I go, well, there's this story, there's that story, there's the other story. And then he's, well, if it's that good, why haven't the pharmaceutical companies got hold of it? So, I don't get into a debate. I just put a bigger smile on. And in that moment, in that case, somebody came by and wanted to talk to him about their money and their banking. So I left it for the next time. He's a motorbiker. I'm a motorbiker. So we'll do a ride and we'll continue it. So, like I said, I'm in a hurry, but I'm never in a hurry, because if you show a lot of people that you're in a hurry, that also turns them off. With a guy like that, the fact that I'm not bugging him and not talking about him, the next time I think I might even show him, I say, look at my last 5 weeks, because he's a money guy and that'll make him sit up. I've done that recently with a few people, and it's like they go, oh, maybe I should look at this. So you all know the expression, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but there is more than one kind of cat. And talking about cats, the cat squeaking at the door, I think he can push it open. So be aware of that. Some people they do just the same thing every single time. I'm always in a, and I don't know, I'm going to let Chris talk for a moment, because I've said a lot of things and I'm sure Chris has got thoughts on some of those. And nobody, by the way, said they don't want to take this far. So I'm going to assume that everybody here wants to take this as far as possible. Okay, Chris, I'm going to open the door for the cat just a moment, but do give some thoughts on what I've said, please.
No, definitely. I've made some notes as well. I think part with the process with George, a lot of people know the story where George, saw me on a Zoom and he saw how I was run down and tired. And the first time George sent me information was on the 1st of October. 1st of October, because obviously, as we've been chatting, I scrolled up and I looked at that first message, 1st of October. It took 21 messages from George before I took action. And that was part of the process as well. George knew the potential that I've got. He knew that I was also distracted. And the biggest thing is, we talk about, many times we've said, facts tell and stories sell. So part of the process as well is, yes, there's a lot of information to send to people, but we've also got to be quite wary of the information that we are sending to people. Lucinda and I were talking about it this morning. I don't know if anybody on this call, mostly guys, who's ever played a game of golf. Now, golf is pretty simple. We all understand what it is. You get a set of golf clubs, and you're going to take this little white ball and hit it a couple of times to make sure it gets into a hole, right?
Shoot myself in the
head. And you've got, it's called a par 5. That means once you hit the ball the first time, you should get it into the hole after 5 hits. Now, you know, when I was younger, I saw my dad had a set of golf clubs, and there was 9, they called irons, 9 of them, they looked exactly the same. And I thought, why on earth would you have 9 of the same clubs? You know, when you're young, you don't understand that there's an angle for each one. So I look at it as like I'm going to hit a golf ball. Now, every club that you take out has got a different angle. So it's not about, you know, this is what a golfer tries to do. You try to hit that ball as hard as you can, and you look up. They say, don't look up, keep your eye on the ball. You've all heard the saying, keep your eye on the ball. And it's not about the power and how hard you're hitting it. It's about the technique, and it's about selecting the right club, because each club has got a different camber, which means that it'll hit the ball either further and low or high to get over a tree or over a lake or something like that. So it's exactly like the tools that we have. As George just mentioned, you don't send the same stuff to everybody. Choose your club. Choose your club. You can use the same energy, pinning in. So George got
Thermostat.
my attention. Sorry,
Thermostat.
thermostat, yeah,
Go
completely.
on. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
And then George, thank goodness he sent me testimonies, because what I've learned is do not send any information to anybody unless there's a testimony attached. So they say it takes 8 to 12 exposures before a person starts to take action. So that is a process already before even getting a person onto the patches. So George went through a 21-step process.
But also the thermostat, I couldn't send him all the stuff onto there. I don't know, but I if you look, you will see there's a gap in time between the messages I sent you, because I had to. I knew he was under a lot of pressure for whatever he was doing. I knew he had a little headspace, so I didn't bombard him. I was very deliberate in giving him stuff, but not too often. So it was over quite a longish period. For me, I would have loved him to come in on the first day. Now, an example is when I finally got Dr. Ali's attention, I felt the thermostat was such that I could send her every day for the next 3, 4, 5 days. I sent her 5, 6 testimonials, but I don't always send video testimonials. I'll send like an audio testimonial, a video testimonial, a written testimonial, human with severe situation testimonial, an animal testimonial. I mix them, a human with a light testimonial, because we don't want to always think that this is only for people in desperate situations, you know. So a variety of testimonials. Her thermostat at the time could take that sort of amount, 3, 4, 5 testimonials every day. And she said to me, thank you for the follow-up. Other people, if I sent them that much stuff, they'd say, please go away, leave me alone. Somebody got in touch with me for something else, another network. And so I decided to play. And because she was, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I said, well, look at this. And I sent her, and I did this deliberately. I wanted to see. And she said after 2 days, please stop sending me this stuff. Okay, that's fine. Wish you the best. So what I'm trying to do here is show a little bit of patina, but of this, but also that as one goes through one's own process of learning how to reach out to people and not being bothered with the results, as Chris says, some will, some won't, so what next? Then your posture grows. And what I said before, Javi talks about leadership lid. So as you go, this is so cleverly designed. When one thinks about the upgrade path of another process, the upgrade path from bronze to silver, $175, just a little bit more, not quite the cost of 2 patches. The upgrade process from silver to gold, a little bit more than what you paid the last time, but not too much. Very well thought out. And then the ranking, the manager ranking, the director ranking, and so on and so forth, and how to build that basic structure. I think probably the hardest part is helping people to become directors, because they are already manager and they are wanting to become director, but they are also learning how to identify the people in their teams who want to be manager. And sometimes that isn't the easiest thing, because you have to, what I said before, I want to do this. So you have to kind of transmit to them to ask who wants to do this. Somebody today said, I said to her, I think you need to be putting everybody on your left-hand side now. And she said, came back to me saying, I think I want to wait till I know somebody's going to be strong for my left-hand side and put everybody else on my right. And I said, but you don't know at the beginning who is and who isn't. You will be surprised. There are people who come in very strong at the beginning and then fade out. Other people who've never had anything to do with network marketing or anything to do with networks at all, but who get this and go, wow, and they can see that it can change their financial life, and they go for it. And you would never have thought that. Bless, don't take this amiss, but Claudia, who's on this call, she's full on. But when I first met her, she couldn't say boo to a goose. And it's like, you never know with people who's going to go for it. And as Javi says, either you identify the leaders or they identify themselves to you. What does he mean by they identify themselves to you? You see what they're doing. You see their actions, and then you go, okay, here's somebody who's going for it. And there are people who I've seen going for it, and I've reached out to them and said, I can see you're going for it, but I think you need a little bit of guidance. So you will always want to be watching your downline and seeing what's going on in your downline. And there is a person I know who's having a hard time to understand. It's not only your first line. It's you support your second line, your third line, your 50th line. It doesn't matter where, you support all the people who want to take action, though particularly your second and third line, obviously. Okay, you're gonna let Chris say something, and then I would love it if anybody else has any observations to share with what I've been talking about. Because with the Spanish calls, everybody talks, and sometimes with the South African calls, I'm actually quite knocked out that nobody says, I want to speak.
So I'm gonna elaborate on the posture that you were talking about now, and then we'll let Ragini speak. I like what you said now, George, about what you would have done 3 months ago versus what you do now. I would have also, same thing, got on the call, spent an hour explaining binary, where Mark did the most amazing training for 15 minutes. I say, you know what, watch that first, and then we'll talk. So that's 15 minutes of them taking the time to watch that, which means I don't need to spend a whole hour, because the last thing I want to do is sound like a broken record, repeating myself the same thing over and over and over again. That's why we have the tools. That's why we have the recordings in place, because we're trying to streamline and duplicate. Because what I've learned over the years, if it don't duplicate, don't do it. So a lot of times I've got to hold myself back. It's hard because I'm a very emotional person and I can get excited. So I've got to go, Chris, take a breath, step back. Is this going to duplicate? No, it's not. So I've got to notch down, and I've got to, what do they say before? You got to dumb it down. You got to dumb yourself down. I didn't understand that in the beginning. Now I know exactly what they're talking about, because you need to make sure that every little thing you do can duplicate. So from a posture point of view, I was on a call, a three-way call, must have been about two months ago. It was one of my people, got a person onto the call, and they said, "Hi, this is Chris, nice to meet you." Da, da, da. And straight away the person goes, "Okay, so tell me, what's this LifeWave all about?" And I said, "Mm, have you not been on a Zoom call? No. Have you watched a recording of a presentation? No. Right. Sorry, let me just stop this call right now. Don't mean to be rude. Um, I said the person's name, who was my person. I said, listen, before I sit and talk on the phone and try and explain a visual presentation over the phone, I would please suggest send the presentation first. Once this person has watched the presentation, then I will give you my time. And that was me just drawing my line in the sand because imagine if every single person, so I've got nearly 1,000 people in my structure. Now imagine if each person got me onto a three-way call and I had to do a verbal presentation, an hour for each brand new prospect. I don't think there's enough hours in the day. So that's how we got to streamline it. No, go watch the video first. You want to know about binary? Go watch it first. That's why I spent 3 months putting that toolbox together. The toolbox, I'm busy working on it. The version 3 is coming out. I'll have it out probably by Monday. New dated stuff in there. You must see, George taught this to me. First, become a pointsman. And I said, become a what? He said, become a pointsman. Appoint people here, point people there, point people there. And I thought, I don't understand what you mean. And then George explained it. He says, I'm not going to repeat myself over and over. There's enough tools. Show the people where to find the info. So what I do now is because the toolbox is indexed, as everybody knows, I mean, it's got every single topic you can think of. All I do is I send the toolbox and I'll say page 35, 36, 37. Next person, page 72, page 73, page 74. Some people I've sent the toolbox to 5, maybe 6 times. I know it might come across like it might be a bit sarcastic. No, I'm trying to get a message across. Don't bug me for every little thing when everything is in the toolbox. So all I do is I send the toolbox again. Go to this page, go to that page. And eventually, you know what's happened? But by the fifth or sixth time, they know where to get the information. And now they're not asking me those questions. And then I get a thank you. Chris, everything is there. I said, yeah, I know. That's what I've been trying to tell you the last 5 weeks by sharing the toolbox every single time.
But part of Chris's process, which was vital for him, was to build the toolbox.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. He did it for everybody else, but he did it mainly for himself, because by doing that for himself, it all got in his head super clear, because he's that kind of guy. So that was part of his process, which we can all take advantage of.
Yeah. And that's beautiful because the reason also, yes, I did that for my own process, but when the penny drops, guys, when the penny drops for you, when you realize what we're sitting on here, I'm not playing around with this for 6 months, 12 months. I'm in here for the long game. I'm in here for decades, guys. So anybody that knows me, I've thrown my heart, my soul, I've thrown everything into this. Everybody knows this is what I'm doing full time. This is my 100% focus. And I got to the realization point very early when I realized how big this is going to get. We're not talking about a couple of hundred people. We're talking about thousands. Now, I know what happens is I've only got influence of people that are plugged in. Okay, so we're talking plugged in as well. That's another part of the process. X levels deep, 5, 10, 15. But you know what's eventually going to happen one day? And because it starts to gets a life of its own, because when it gets to 5,000, 10,000 people, we're talking 50, 100 levels deep. A lot of these people you will never meet because how far gone it has. But I'm hoping that this toolbox gets its way down there so that the people that gets signed up lower down, because you might get somebody that's joined and their intention is not to shoot the lights out and build a massive business. They just want to maybe try the product and help a few of their friends. Then they sign somebody up that wants to take this to the next level. And they don't know where to start. They don't even know about the Zoom calls. They haven't been invited onto the WhatsApp group. They're nothing. They're like a poor little satellite lost in space. I put this in place so that there can be a little safety net where somewhere this poor person lost in space gets access to this, and it can pull them closer um, to a person getting plugged in. So that's one of the big reasons I put that in place, so we can
Plugging
catch
in, very, very important. A lot of
plugging
people are
in.
resistant. That's another part of the process. A lot of people are resistant. They'll say, I don't mind to plug in, but I'm not going to tell my people to plug in. I've seen that a lot too. So I've had to really be a bit sharp with one or two people. It's like you're not doing yourself, nor the people who you've invited to service, by not connecting them with the groups, by not making them aware of the other calls. Oh, but they don't like the Americans. Okay, well, like Javi says, eat the meat, chuck the bones. If you don't like the tone, if you don't like the energy, you're right on the first call that I brought to the 333 group. And I'd heard, we didn't Americans. I said there is a lot of stuff to learn from these people. Even if you don't like the accent, even if you don't like the energy intensity, there's a lot to learn. They're making a lot of money and they're helping a lot of people. So I would say this, and I've said it before, but not maybe everybody on this call. So it's worth saying. I worked in a network marketing company in mid 2000s, and I did that for a year. An intense amount of work. I learned a lot. And it took me a year to what I was receiving within about 3 months with LifeWave, but that's another story. But what I did learn from that network, they always use the expression, one of the leaders, is the money's in the deep. The money's in the deep, meaning what they meant was as you build out your network, because you got very little from the first few 2-3 lines, but when you had 10,000 people and you're getting $1.50 from 10,000 people every month, that added up to a lot of money. It was a very hard one to put together, but the money was in the deep, stuck with me. So as I'm building out my LifeWave, and I see one leg is 500, and I can see the points growing, and the other leg is at like 30, and I'm going, oh, we need to help this leg go along, because I need it to be 500. At the moment it's 238 on that leg, or 239 maybe now. I think somebody came in. As it gets to 500, 1,000, the other one will be at 2,000, 3,000, and then the money just flows in every day in just silly amounts. If I tell you what Javi's been making in the last few weeks, it's incredible. Because he's busy supporting. He doesn't. Sometimes I've said, how many people? He says, I haven't looked. I said, go and look for me, please. Because he's busy supporting people, because his thing is he makes goals. I want to make this person successful. I want to make that person successful. I want to make this person successful. So he's busy doing that. His first goal was to be senior presidential director, which he and Olga are. So his other goals are now help this one to be senior presidential director, help that one. So I have some goals which are particularly with the three people to help them to be director as soon as possible. Again, this is me. I said I want to have 6 managers on either side. I don't know if I have 6 managers on either side, but that's what I said at the beginning, because like Chris always says, it's a question of numbers. We've listened, and some of you have seen, and some of you haven't, to Mike Hernandez and Steve Merritt, invite 20 people on each leg, because then it doesn't matter. There will always be 4 people, 20-80 rule. There'll always be 4 people who want to run with it. So you're not sitting on somebody waiting. Are you going to do something? Are you going to do something? Are you going to do something? If you have 20 people on each leg, naturally 4 or 5 on each leg are going to go for it. Now the reverse is, when I met Javi and I said to him, how many people have you got? He said 900. I said, how many people did you invite? He said 25. I said, how many people are doing anything? He said 12. And then I said, how many people are really doing something? He said 4 to 5. So that made sense. So go back to, because that's the 80-20 rule. So go back to the money's in the deep. When I started talking with Javi, I used that expression, and he was using an expression, I go down into the depth. And I didn't really understand that until that conversation when I referred to earlier, when I said, how come you got 900? I've only got 350 after 4 months. He goes down into the depth, meaning he's always looking to see who wants to run with it. And some of you know, I think Sandy, she got a call from him, didn't know who he was offering to help her. And I think I'm not sure if it was you, Sandy, but gave him the cold shoulder until realized who it was. But he's, and Sandy couldn't vouch that Javi got in touch and helped Sandy with her initial Zooms and so on and so forth. So help people as much as possible without being overbearing. Okay, Ragini wanted to say something. I'm going to stop. It's the coffee talking now.
All right, Ragini, I've just asked you to unmute. There we go.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, Ragini.
Hi, everybody. Well, actually, you know, a couple of the things that I was going to say is between George and Chris, you already said it, so thanks for that. But I'll just see if I got anything to add beyond that. Just
Yeah,
going
but
by
hang on. But what was it that it's always nice to know what rang a bell for you. So can you?
Okay, well, thanks, George. Initially, you know, just going by what Sandy had to say, Sandy introduced me to LifeWave. I didn't realize how identical our the beginning was for both of us. In fact, it was all about timing as well for her and I. I called her, and on that very day, she put my name on a list to call me. And we hadn't spoken in months and months and months. So that was like amazing in itself. I was also going through really like a hectic financial crisis. So again, $25 is where I started, got onto bronze, onto silver, onto gold, onto platinum. And now, and this is all pretty much with LifeWave's money, you know, that I've been earning. And then now I can maybe do the diamond, but I'm holding back on, it's all about timing. So, you know, that is now crucial. But in the beginning, you just hear 1 or 2 testimonials and you think, oh my God, I want to get to diamond. But then as you learn to strategize, as you learn to see the bigger picture, you realize that it could become a little bit too premature. And, you know, you want to make sure that you get the maximum mileage out of going diamond when you do. So personally, unless you've got people lining up there behind you to become diamonds, obviously it's not in your interest to do so, and rather hold back a little bit until you've got a team that's following close on your heels. So that's personally what I think, what I've learned. Also, you know, talking about, you know, South Africa, the rand is always taking a hit. Sometimes, you know, people coming in that need to be in the system have got money issues, and explaining a little bit about the $25 really helps. I've had a few that came on that way. The other thing, talking about timing again, you know, I find that, you know, the human element, prior to me being in LifeWave, for most of my career was in recruitment. And no matter what you do, it's just the people element. So there's no like hard and fast rules with people, you know, and we all know that. So as much as, we have recommendations, suggestions, do this, do that, I find personally for me, my first couple of weeks is all about the personal touch. It's not about do it this way or do it that way, because you could lose a person so quickly with the wrong attitude, or go look at this, look at this toolbox. They don't want to know, unfortunately. Chris, that beautiful effort, I can appreciate more now. And again, the other thing is, sometimes you watch a clip and it doesn't make sense to you. You watch it as you further down the system, and then you finally see the light, and you can read this. It's like reading a book, the 4 agreements. I read it 20 years ago. I thought I knew it all when you guys were doing the training. And when I watched Don't Take Things Personally, that was all about what I needed to hear. And I got up at 2 a.m. that morning, much after the actual training. And that's when I watched it, and that's when the penny dropped. So I agree with everything everybody's saying, and yet I still feel the personal touch is what
100%.
keep your people,
100%.
or one like bit of attitude, one little bit of just go and do that. Stop, I've told you this 3 times. Did you not hear me? That attitude doesn't cut it. Once they're so deep in it and they know the value, then they're not going to take offense anyway. And I'm, like everybody else there on the team, I'm now sending out more training videos, stuff that I watch that has value. I send it to my personal team, I keep forwarding things, and then I make reference, because the other day, that back office training that I put on the group is so valuable, but it would never have been valuable then. It's now becoming very valuable to me, especially the second half. So that's kind of what I was going to add to everything you guys did say. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry, before I let you guys talk again, I just want to say the leadership in this team has been incredible. And Harvey, especially, I have a direct line with Harvey too. And, he's just so available. Nothing is too much, and neither for you guys too. So that's great teaching for me to execute that to my team as well. You just keep carrying it forward down to your own team. And it really does pay back, because it's not just telling you what to do. It's about the relationship building, which is really valuable. There we go.
Thank you. That's.
Thank you, Ragini. Beautiful feedback. Beautiful.
Yeah. And you made me think of something that I wanted to mention earlier. So when I was talking about process, so everybody has their process, and there's a person who I invited, and he came in probably 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, on a starter pack. And he said, I'm waiting for some money, I want to go gold. And didn't hear a lot, and bumped into him once, but he didn't talk about it. And I thought, okay. And I was beginning to wonder, I was even wondering, shall I ask him if he would cede his position to somebody else? And he got in touch with me, and I didn't know what had been going on in his life. He got in touch with me. He's got business in Russia. He's got business in Ukraine. He says, I've been in Ukraine and I've been in Russia. I've been trying to get my money out of Russia. Impossible. I arrived at the Russian customs immigration. They said, you were in Kiev last week for a week. It's like, how do you know that? And he says, so he says, but now I just purchased. He just went in. I said, what did you purchase? He didn't get a kit. He just went and bought the X39, X49 just to try. So I said, well, next time you make a purchase, let's talk, let's meet. Because he is now, I said to him, so you've been navigating in turbulent waters, and maybe you want to have a calmer river to move in. He says, yep. Now I need to understand. Now I need to understand how this works, and the structure, and what the processes are. So, it's patience. Even though I had been beginning to wonder about him, because at the beginning when he came in, I had a feeling. You never know with people, but I had a feeling the guy's a serious guy, and he caught what my vision was, but he was just super distracted with something far greater than beginning a LifeWave organization. Now he's got clear, his money's locked up in Russia. He's probably never going to get it out. So he's looking for something. Yeah. Anyways, that's. I think Lara's got her hand up. You're in charge of the micros.
There we go.
Hi guys.
Hey, Laura.
A testimonial and a big thank you first of all. My story is when the medicine crisis happened. I went through a lot because of the trauma here, the blast, explosion, the scars, the wars, everything. I myself was suicidal years ago, but I refused to take medication. I was always looking for something natural. And when the explosion happened and children lost families, I reached out to many people. Very few responded. And I was asking a nice question, because finances, we have over 1 million of assets locked here. Sometimes I transfer $1,000 just to get 30, because I know this is family, this is home. So I had written, what source of joy and income can I be, or something, and this lovely man messaged me. So I told him the story, and he introduced me to the patches. I read at least 12 hours daily. I research the patches, everything. I start my 4th month. I've done 3 plus I had the vaccine, had horrible malpractice, medication never worked. I was nearly jumping many times. So I've had a lot of things. So I had the neuralgia. The pains were so horrible. I could not sleep more than half an hour. Chris knows, I was wiped out last year. In 2 days of the X39, the pains were gone. And then my mother, she was torn open, explosion here. And we did very horrible stitching that night, flashlight, load shedding, South Africa and Lebanon are vibing hard. So my dream was to find something for mom, for her injury, which was like this. One day, it was gone. My Ivana also, she was forced that poison. Every day we go wake her up. She suffered 9 months ataxia, all of it. So really, the patches are a miracle. Now there's a lot of violence going on in Lebanon, but imagine even under bombing, with the Silent Night, the Aeon, the gluten, all of it. I'm doing 4 kinds. I'm so cool. I'm so chill. I'm so grateful. I'm going platinum very soon, and I'm not stopping, of course, because finances as well. I'm seeing the difference.
So that I'm really, really happy about that. But so this call is a lot about process. So in your process with LifeWave, you've gone through 3 to 4 months to come to a position where you're much more focused on LifeWave than anything else. And you are also, how shall I say this? It's not been that easy for you, let's say, to develop a strong posture with the people who weren't listening to you. But as time is going by, you are able to now have a better posture towards the people who are not listening to you, and having more people listening to you. So it is. Look, it is a process. Thank you, Lara. Thank you. Has anybody else got something? Otherwise, we've been on for an hour. I know Chris likes to keep the calls tight on the hour.
I just want to elaborate on one more thing. I was actually chatting to Sandy about it earlier today. I remember learning this many years ago. It's called um, um, upline abuse. So what I mean by upline abuse is, we all here, we all help each other, but we got to be very careful in the way of myself, George, Harvey. We had to help. We had to do a three-way call. We had to assist and obviously get the people on board. But you got to be careful when people start just sending you a phone number and saying, phone this person, they're interested. And I did this in the beginning, and you phone them, they haven't got a clue. They're like, yes, they sent me something about these patches or whatever. Okay, tell me all about it. Be very careful of that. That comes hand in hand with posture. We had to help, but the person needs to do the job first. Participate in your own rescue, as we've spoken about many times. You've got all of the tools. I'm very happy to help anybody, but I'm not here to do the prospecting on people's behalves. I'm really doing my own prospecting. We've got the Zooms, we have all the tools in place. So you might get some people that are still they're still prospects, and they say, no, I want to speak to the top people. You know what? You first got to show us with your actions. You got to commit. You got to commit a little bit. It's a two-way street here.
Yeah, I got a call at
Imagine.
about three in the morning from somebody, and I turned my phone off rigorously. We need to speak to David right now.
Yes, somebody
Right?
wanting to speak to David.
Right now,
Prospect.
because of that, over nothing. Basically, over nothing. And I said, well, I don't
Prospect, yeah.
think that's going to happen. For example, I've got direct WhatsApp with Onyx, but I don't. I maintain a gentle conversation with her. She's probably got 10,000 people talking to her regularly, and she responds. But I'm not going to be, bombarding her with messages. Something came up with the Start X39 website the other day. So I went directly to her. Listen, this isn't working right. She said, thank you very much. Please give me the exact URL and I'll get them to fix it. So, then it's being a little bit responsible with anyways, has anybody else got something they'd like to say before Chris presses the button? I'd love to hear from somebody. Hands up. Nobody? Amazing.
So finishing off, I always like to
somebody. I just saw a hand up.
Mel.
Because Claudia, she knows on the Spanish calls. Listen, people keep talking for a long time. We take anyway.
Thanks, George and Chris. I just wanted to say, in my team, all of a sudden, I've obviously got a lot of medical people because I've got all the pharmacies, and I've just got a new nursing sister that have joined. And it's very different. So I think when you're looking at what they want to share with people, like Alex, who joined me on Friday, is going to a lot of her friends who are in the medical profession. And the information that they want to share, and obviously they're not, same as everybody else, but they don't want to just go with Start X39. It's quite interesting. And she picked it up herself today. So she came to me and said, okay, this is what I want to share. There's a clip from Dr. Tracy that we found that explains how the patches work, and it's short. And then Karen's testimonial, because she said, if you look at that, it's got everything in, from all the physiological and all those kind of things. So I think that everybody is going to find a way that'll work for them. And when they start looking at stuff, they'll find it. But another interesting thing today, Cindy, who, as those of you know, she bought in the pharmacies, and she's a nursing sister, she runs a clinic. One of the things she discovered today, and she said, something I hadn't picked up before, and was quite interesting, is that if people are battling to get responses, and we always say, well, okay, last 3 months and that, and she said that she's just watched something from David Smith, and now she's sharing it with the pharmacies, because obviously they want to get results. That's how they're going to get customers, or because they are going to get customers. A lot of the clinic people are going to be preferred customers. They're not going to sign them up to start with. But that if people aren't having responses, that often it's because of inflammation. And this is from David Schmitz himself. And he said, patch people with Aon, because if you get rid of the inflammation, it allows the X39 to work, because inflammation kills stem cells. Just something that the medical people have picked up and are now starting to use. So that might be useful for others, but but what I was really going to say is, like with the posture, is when you're speaking to those people, and I obviously come from that sort of background, but I don't know what they know. So I find just share the stuff, and there are a lot of doctors. So those people want to see the medical stuff. Share the things from the doctors, because there's plenty.
So, I thank you for that, Mel. That's really great. So that again goes back to what I call the thermostat, and there's, you know, there are a lot of different cats. So, you know, like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but there are a lot of different cats. So you have to, you know, use the right approach for each cat. But there's one thing I would say. And we had this very strongly with a guy, and I'm not saying this is particularly to do with doctors, or could be any kind of person, but there are certain kind of people who just ask one question after another, after another, after another, after another, and another call and another call and another call. And this particular person, you know, I've got 250,000 people in my networks, and when I say something and blah, 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 and it was interesting for the person who wanted to sponsor him, but in the end, Javi said, he's making you dance. Don't dance. Don't dance. I actually sent Chris, because he was talking about something, and I sent him a video called Don't Dance. Maybe if you feel like it, post it on the group. But it's like, there comes a point, and this is to do with posture. Don't dance for people if they want to make you dance, because that's it's like the bank director. I'm not going to dance for him. I will pursue him, but on my terms, not on his, until he says, tell me more.
And George, I think that's not just about people that we are presenting LifeWave to as new people. It's people who've already joined, who wanting their upline, as you say, don't work for them to do everything, find every testimonial, send every whatever.
But that's still, you know, the dancing. I've seen that.
Dance, exactly, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't just apply to those new people.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Can you guys hear the bagpipes in my village square?
No.
Oh, well, they got the bagpipes. It's like local folk music. Stella wants to say something.
Okay. Thanks, Mel. Thanks for that input. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Goes back to the golf clubs. Which golf club are you going to use to hit that ball?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very different to the engineer and the...
Yep. Yeah. No, brilliant. Thank you for that. Stella, here we go. Let me unmute you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. I think you know, everybody's captured the points very well. I think just coming back to my own posture is, for me, the patch parties I find are quite beneficial. And then you have these people. I mean, I've got a lady that's been on the calls. She's been to the patch parties, and just coming back to the point of not dancing around people. I've been sharing information with her, testimonies, and she's got the money. So what I've done, in a way, I tend to take a slightly clinical approach to some extent. I've given the information. I've tried to share as much as I can. But now I've also stepped away a bit to allow her to decide what she wants. Because for me, this is my business. And this is why I try not to always come to my uplines to ask for information. I first go and try and find it, because my mindset is one. If, let's say, Chris God forbid something happens to you or to my direct upline. How
Who is
am
your
I
direct
coming to
upline?
run my business? Because we're all human, and I don't think I should depend on the next person to run my business. I think for me the mindset is, when I got into this opportunity, I actually thought about it. Is it something, number one, that I would be interested to do? Will I develop a passion to do it? I looked at quite a few different factors. What is my mission? What is my vision for my business? Where do I want to take this? So I look at it from a strategic perspective to say, okay, because right now I'm starting a new job next week, Monday. And I actually thought to myself, okay, I now need to find a balance because I'm going to have to juggle my job, my studies, because I also want to study further, and my business, because if you don't look at this opportunity as your own business, that's when we keep coming back to Chris and George and everybody who introduced us, instead of putting in the work. So it's all about what I want for myself. So I'm going to put in the work. And my posture, I've got a clear strategy where I'm going with this. From the month I started, 6 months down the line, I want to look at it as a project and say, how far have I come? That's all.
I love it.
Because you
I
can
love it.
share a lot of information, but hey, it's up to the people. Because ultimately, we're dealing with people that need the product. We're dealing with people who are probably entrepreneurs. We're also dealing with people that are just your retail customer for various reasons. So I even dissected my audience. I'm not going to pursue somebody. If you just need it to get your blemishes off your face, are you going to pay that much attention? I don't think so. But if you need it to fix an ailment, your motivation is different. So yeah, that's my posture, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Stella, thanks.
Thank you, Stella.
Who invited you?
Desiree, I actually
Oh.
signed up under Des.
Okay,
And
so
Des is a busy
fantastic.
bee. She's extremely busy. And I try my level best not to always, there's
but
this,
also you
because
can
I know she's busy.
even though she's busy, you
Yeah.
can be sure she wants your success. So don't be
Oh,
afraid.
absolutely. Yes,
You're,
absolutely. Yeah.
And you can,
From
and
the
then you can
time she
back, and
showed
then you
me
can
the
back
business.
Wilson.
Oh, yeah. No, but from the day she showed me the business, I asked her, okay, how do I also fast track myself? Because I've been in multi-level marketing businesses for quite a while.
Mhm.
How do I get from bronze to manager? Show me the roadmap. And once I understood the roadmap, that's it. Then I need to work my own plan. That's
Wow.
it.
so
And guys, thank you so much for the valuable information and your time that you invest in us. It's really appreciated.
no,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Look,
you, Stella.
you
Wow.
you said something very key: passion. So at the time, I was looking for something to give my energy to. I love networking, but at the same time, I'd looked at all sorts of things that weren't giving me what I wanted, and there were a lot of crypto ones at the same time, and I'm completely without passion towards them. And with this, I found that particular thing, passion, because we are able to help people, as Javi always says, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, and nothing better than that, really. So I love what you said, Stella, and I'm really happy that you're in our team. And, you know, count on me, count on Chris. I know you're not going to call us every 5 minutes, but if you need to, do it.
Yeah, completely. We here. Awesome. Thank you for that, Stella. Thank you. George, thank you. This has been absolutely invaluable. I think there's some really beautiful nuggets that have come through tonight. I think we need to do this more often, at least once a month. We need to have a nice.
So we can call them a George call.
They will call them
Different
George calls.
Different style. Yeah, what
Awesome.
I think we need to do also, Chris, on the next Thursday call, like some back to basic stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some really nice stuff. I'll actually I'll chat to you tomorrow. And I'm gonna run through some things with you. Got some really nice, beautiful material that we can run it together. Looking forward to that.
Super.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. And not only thank you for coming
guys.
on the call, thank you for, you know, taking part in this amazing story.
Awesome. Love you to bits, George. Thank you again. Thank you for your persistence with me. Yay.
Wasn't easy. Like some of you have heard, I said to Javi, I'm going to get this guy. I called Javi, I got him.
Thanks, guys. Love you all. Have a good evening. Cheers,
Thank you.
guys. Night.